I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, August 6, 2018 to order. First order of business, Pledge of Allegiance. Charlie, if you wouldn't mind leading us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Charlie. Public forum. Anyone wishing to address the board in public forum on any item on the agenda? Hearing none, let's move on to item 3, approved minutes. And those 3.1, those minutes will be the July 16th, 2018 regular meeting. Are there any comments, corrections, changes, etc.? I had none.
Let me see, I thought I had one. Give me a second.
Take your time.
Nope,
None?
thank you.
I'll move.
Second.
And seconded, call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Item 4, Board of Education Director, Cliff Gurnham. And 4.1 is to consider and take possible action to award bid number 1-1819 Calvin Leet Elementary School Subsurface Sewage Disposal System Replacement. A little background first, and then what you would like us to approve.
So this spring, unfortunately, the septic system at Calvin Leet failed. We managed to make it through the balance of the school year by pumping the tank weekly so that the school could still fully function. So that's how we managed to do this. The present septic system, the one that we're looking at, the school actually has two. It has a north system and a south system. The north system is original to the building, so it was built back in about the 50s. So it's well past its life cycle, and unfortunately, the leaching fields themselves had failed, this spring. So we had a design team come out, look at it, determine if there was anything we could do to rejuvenate or repair the existing system. After further investigation, it was determined no, they could not do that, or you would be spending money poorly. So we went ahead, we hired an engineering firm. They designed a new system. Once that was complete, we did go out to bid to replace the entire system, north system. We had a fair number of bidders respond to that. The Standing Building Committee had a special meeting last week, reviewed the bids. At the conclusion of that meeting, they decided to award it to the lowest responsive bidder. So there was one bidder that was determined to be non-responsive. That information went through the town council, so we don't need to get into that here, but they determined that. So after that, the Standing Building Committee determined that, or made the recommendation to award to A&W in the amount of $88,000. That includes alternate number 2. Not alternate 1 is not included. Alternate 1 is only in case, once we get into the project, we determine that the existing tank is unusable. So we can't tell that until we actually get into the tank and examine it.
Okay.
So at least we
So
have a set
that's
fee.
the alternate number 2 on your,
Alternate number 1
Yeah.
is the replacement of the tank if needed. Alternate 2 is to resurface the playground because they're actually cutting right through the middle of the blacktop. So the blacktop itself is probably, I'm assuming, 20 plus years old, has lots of cracks and is damaged. So to make a patch is just going to make it worse. So it was determined that if we're ripping up that area, it makes sense to incorporate that piece into the project itself. So we could come back to you and ask for the change order for alternate 1 if we deem that that tank is not usable.
Gotcha.
So today we're asking just to approve base bid and alternate 2 for the sum of $88,000.
Wonderful. Any further questions?
Do you think this will be done before schools open, or it'll take into September?
Our goal is to get it done before school starts. That's why we were pushing to make this meeting. And I would speculate if everything goes well, we'll hopefully get them mobilized by the end of this week, if not the beginning of next week. So the answer is yes.
It sounds like determining whether or not we need another tank is fairly straightforward. Maybe we should just add that as a condition, rather than have the need to come back.
If you would do that, that'd be
It
great.
seems pretty straightforward. Either you need a tank or you
Approve
don't.
it,
Yeah.
approve it if necessary.
Right, right. With the, I'd move that we approve A and W for the amount of 88, and then also the contingency of the additional $5,070 when it's verified whether or not it's needed.
Makes sense.
I'll second that.
And just for the record, I know you have a long history of successfully working with A&W as well, and they're the local company on this list, which is
Correct.
another plus. Can I ask, the alternative two, which is, what's the amount for A&W, $20,350 for A&W, was there any consideration to just bidding that separately, doing that separately? Is that, is that a reasonable amount for just that one project?
Right, great question. I was planning on replacing that black top before we had the failure, and I already gotten prior estimates. So he's well in range, actually a little bit lower than the other estimates, I think, because he's already on site
Yep,
to do the
good.
work. So yes, it is a good number.
Great.
How old is the south tank, south system?
I'd have to go back and confirm, when they put the addition on, the south section, that's when that system went in. So
Obviously,
I
they're
think it was
separate enough so that
70
there's no
or
merit
something.
in, okay.
Yeah, there's no reason to do both at this time, correct.
Very good.
So, and we did a full scope review with A&W, they are on board, and they are prepared to get the work done, hopefully before school. Obviously, if weather permitting, so if the weather holds, we should be able to move along quickly.
Can air condition the playground, what's the problem?
So they'll be starting this afternoon if we approve this morning? Is that what you're
We'll
saying?
get the contracts rolling, yes.
Make sure Mark's watching, right? All right, so there's a motion on the table to approve $93,070, not to exceed $93,070 for the septic replacement. Call a question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
very much,
Thank you.
Cliff. You too. Item 5, Fire Chief Charles Hershack. 5.1, discuss and take possible action on purchase of Scott Air cylinders from Shipman's Fire Equipment. Good morning, sir.
This is phase 3 of a multi-year process. Shipman's Fire Equipment is the only dealer for Scott Air Packs, and we're legally bound to use Scott Air Packs. Using anything else is illegal. So
Guess that's
we're recommending that
We don't like to do anything illegal.
that the town purchase the air packs from Shipman's at the price of $12,560. That's 16 air packs, and there's 2 more phases to go.
And what's the lifespan of this equipment?
15 years.
Good.
Not make that motion, I guess.
You? I don't think there's gonna be any questions on this one, right?
I love that we rubber stamp that.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 5.2, consider and take possible action on purchase of hose from Shipman's Fire Department. Hoses.
Looks like 12.
Many.
Well, it is
This is another phase-in process over the last 4 years, I believe, of replacing all the hose in the department, which has got a 10-year life expectancy. We've been buying all-American hose for the last 4 years, which is from Shipman's Fire Equipment. Did the middle bit, so I recommend that we purchase. It's got 10-year warranty, and it has our required maximum pressure, 250 pounds, which most manufacturers do not have. So the total price of that is $13,080.
So moved.
Second.
Another rubber stamp, Charlie? Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Chief.
Have a good day.
And you too. Item 6, Lieutenant Tim Bernier from the Police Department. Item 6.3, discuss and take possible action on purchase of radio equipment from Tactical Communications.
Morning.
Good morning.
Keep the rubber stamp coming. As you guys, I'm sure, are familiar, every police officer is issued.
needed,
Every police officer is issued and carries a PACSAT radio, a personal radio on their person. It's our primary means of communication between other officers, dispatch, and neighboring towns. So we've been on a kind of a multi-year plan by upgrading these to a digital platform from the antiquated analog platform. We're looking to purchase 6 this year, and we're looking to purchase a few more next year to completely outfit the department with everything we need. It's a sole source vendor from Tactile Communications. They are the only ones who carry our Kenwood radio. So we're seeking $91,5750 for the purchase of 6 PACSAT radios to replace antiquated equipment.
Excellent. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Did this take care of all of them now? or-
We have one more phase next year. We're doing it 6 to 8 at a time. So we'll purchase the remaining units next year, and the entire department will be
Approximately
outfitted.
the same price next year?
Roughly, depending, I think it's 8 units next year is what's penciled in, so it'll be, roughly the same price plus the additional 2 units.
So I'll ask you the same question then. What's the lifespan of this equipment? Depends on the technology
It
changes?
depends on technology, depends on what's new, it depends on wear and tear and things beyond our control. And
What do we get out of the
daily
old equipment then? How about if we put it that way?
It's a tough thing to answer because it's the technology changed before the equipment lost function. So the equipment's still functional, but the downside is we can't communicate with neighboring agencies because they're on digital frequencies.
Right.
We can't communicate with state police because they're on digital frequencies. So with those radios are really bound to communicating with each other and the people in town. So the radio still works, but the technology has advanced beyond its use to us.
So this is essential.
Yes, sir.
And why don't we get them all this year? Because you'll still have officers with the old.
Some are spares, some are in limbo because their officers have retired or have moved on to other agencies. So there's some radios that don't need to be swapped out.
So
Essentially,
technically,
at the moment,
everyone that needs one.
everyone with the purchase of these, everyone who will need one on the road will have one.
Oh.
And then we
Good
are
question, Sam.
as we're preparing for new officers to come in with new hires and stuff, we'll be preparing to purchase those in the next round.
Okay.
Terrific.
Good.
Appreciate that.
Good. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Item 7. Receive update on recent bond rating and bond sale. Mary Jane, you want to take credit for this?
Okay, I wasn't planning on speaking.
I did it to you on Friday afternoon, Friday morning, I'm gonna do it to you again. For those in the audience, last week we went out to the market for a bond sale. What I want to do is I want to acknowledge Mary Jane's work. We had a short window to prepare for going to the bond market. There's a substantial amount of data and information that needs to be accumulated and collected to go to the houses, including preparing a certain new first selectman for ratings calls with the agencies. Mary Jane stepped up this summer. She also got a lot of help from the other department heads because it requires a significant amount of information from a variety of different departments. So I want to thank Mary Jane and the entire team for pulling this off. Now, you can talk about the good news.
Okay, so we did have our 2 rating agency calls and spoke with them, and they reaffirmed our AAA rating for our bonds, and with our bond anticipation notes, we did receive the highest rating possible on both of those, which according to our financial advisor saved us approximately $142,000 in interest costs thanks to those bond ratings, so that was very good news for us. So we went to our bond sale hoping to receive under 3% for our bonds, and hopefully you have that in here.
No, we have the bands.
The bands are in here. I didn't
That's all, yeah.
bring my paperwork. It was 2.92546.8, something silly like
Right.
that. So we actually came in better than we had hoped in comparison to other bonds being sold. We thought we got a very fair rate, interest rate for that. And our the bands, as you see, they came in here. That one's on here. So we got 1.84 4964, which is exactly, again, about where we had hoped to come in for there. So we were very pleased with the outcome.
In your discussion with the reading agencies at that point, I know they can't give us any recommendations or anything, but was there anything from their questions or any insights you might give us for things going forward to help maintain this rating and or improve it?
I think the bottom line is that they feel that Guilford has done a good job of having the resources available to cover the payments for the bonds. And that's really all they're worried about. You know, they're here to rate our ability to pay back the money. And so we talk about our fund balance, we talk about how we specifically have been budgeting in our operating more capital and less bonding, on the town side at least, and our ability to take that capital funding and adjust it for current budgeting purposes. Sometimes we're able to give more in there, sometimes we take from there less, in order to keep our budgets at a place where we feel that Guilford should be. So that really resonates well with them. Would you agree, Matt?
I would. And I'm also going to take a chance. I'm going to paraphrase from some of the highlights. And this would be from Standard & Poor's. Their rating reflects their assessment of Guilford's very strong economy with access to a broad and diverse metropolitan statistical area. So the socioeconomic profile here is strong. Strong management with good financial policies and practices under financial management assessment tool that they use. Strong budgetary performance with operating surplus in the general fund and at the total governmental fund level in fiscal 2017. Very strong budget flexibility with an available fund balance of 11.9% of operating expenditures, strong liquidity in terms of cash on hand, strong debt and contingent liability position. So those are the things that they're looking at. That's the basis.
Interesting that a number of those comments referred to the fund balance, because I know we've struggled with the amount in the fund balance. So it sounds like they have a comfort level at where we are now.
Right, and we even spoke to them
Yeah,
during
right.
the rating agency calls
About
that
using some of
there
that.
were some uses of that fund balance that we were contemplating, so that that number, we didn't want to give them the impression that that number would stay there or rise much higher. And they were, absolutely
The uses
comfortable
that
with that.
we're suggesting are logical.
Because what they don't want to see is that we're using our
Operating.
fund balance to cover our operating. And that was
Or pension
obviously.
interest or something like that.
Right, that not the case whatsoever, that we were going to use them for one-time capital uses or one-time uses, in different areas. They were very comfortable with that. We certainly put that on the table as part of our discussions, so that we didn't mislead them as to what our fund balances were on hand.
A couple things maybe to add to your list. They also mentioned our pensions being funded at
Funded.
appropriate levels, which is very important to this board.
Absolutely.
And they also mentioned as a positive our relatively low reliance on state funding.
State
Absolutely.
funding.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did discuss the pension with the Board of Education and how we were planning to move some additional money and bring that up moving forward. Although overall, the pension fund they look at was funded at a generally good levels, so they were, I don't want to say they weren't as concerned about that, but even without that, they felt that our pensions were doing well.
Yeah, great. Are those reports, they're public information, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think they're a really great
Oh my God,
report
it's like
card for anyone to
177
read.
pages. It's huge, but
Yeah.
really informative.
Well,
But even
We,
these
we re-
summaries are.
yeah, very informative.
Interesting
Mhm.
to
Right, I
anyone.
believe last week
Especially going forward.
we issued press releases last week. We'll make the Standard & Poor's and the Fitch's assessments available online as well.
No, that's great.
Great.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I'd just like
Just-
to end by, again, thanking all the department heads. I did not give them a lot of time to pull the information together, and they all came through. And without that, we would not have, been possibly not as successful. We would have been behind the ball a little bit. But
Right.
they really came through for me, and I really appreciated that.
Right, and just, again, I may have been focused on something else, but we issued $12 million for bonds, and for those in the viewing audience, a portion of that's the last piece of the Guilford High School bond,
No,
second to last piece?
No, it's actually in the bond anticipation
Anticipation
notes.
notes, that's it.
The final piece for the school, because most of that we're hoping to get back through our final payment from the state.
State, right.
So we don't want to bond that until we know
I
what we
see.
really have
Right.
left there.
Okay.
So we're able to roll that over
about
until we know for sure.
Good. Anything, anything
This is
else?
great news, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
Wonderful.
Item 8, appointments and resignations. 8.1, act on resignation received from Calvin Page from the Inland Wetlands Commission. Is there a motion to accept with thanks and regret?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
8.2, act on resignation received from Nicholas Casano Jr. from the Board of Assessment Appeals and the Pension Committee. Is there a motion to do so with gratitude and regret?
So moved.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Act on recommendation received from Carol Casano from the Board of Assessment Appeals, with gratitude and regret.
So moved.
Second.
That one looked like a package deal.
It's a package deal, I think they're moving to Westbrook.
Together, apparently.
I think they're moving away.
So,
Now,
yeah,
where
I-
does that leave pension, Genghis? Pension, we were just,
Pensions, will be down one, just one. So, although it is gonna be a very, well, it's a relatively new board. I think Bob Hartman and Pat Smith are the only two that have been there for longer than 6 months or a year. Call the question on Carol. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained.
Charlie's Point's a good one, though, so anybody out there who's got some interest in that,
Exactly.
feel free to volunteer.
Right. Act on recommendation to reappoint Dr. K.J. Lee to the Harbor Management Commission for a term to expire July 31st, 2022.
To make that motion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, recusals, none. Motion carries. Act on recommendation to reappoint Chris Tejan to the Harbor Management Commission for a term to expire July 31st, 2022. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 8.6, and I'll make this recommendation, please. Act on a recommendation to appoint Bob Welsh to the Board of Police Commissioners for a term to expire June 30th, 2022. Is there a second?
I'd like to second that.
Wonderful. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries.
Is it-
For the record, we're gonna let them know that was unanimous.
Yeah. Is another familiar
No
name?
no objections. Yeah, and here is another familiar, you're right. Act on appointment of Kimberly Brockett to the Board of Assessment Appeals to fill a vacancy for a term to expire February 1, 2020.
I'd like to make that
I thought
motion
you
with
would.
great enthusiasm. Kimberly Brockett, she's served this town for
Yes.
15
She
years.
certainly
and,
has.
Yeah,
A tremendous
she's
asset.
fantastic.
Yep.
Yep.
I
And
second
Charlie
it, yeah.
seconded. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Act on a recommendation to reappoint Dave Egan to the Economic Development Commission for a term to expire April 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to add a second too, having served with David on the Board of Finance for a number of years. Another great volunteer in this community.
Yep,
Nice to
for
see,
sure.
nice to
Glad
see
to see him
see him coming back.
reinvest.
Yeah.
Exactly. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Act on recommendation to move Susan Anderhagen from alternate to regular member on the Inland Wetlands Commission to fill a vacancy for a term to expire February 28th, 2020. Is there a motion? I'll make that.
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 8.10, act on an appointment of John Murrow to the Energy Task Force. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. I believe that fills the Energy Task Force. Trace, does that get us to full complement? So we will be charging them with pulling together a meeting. Tracy and I were talking about this. We'll get all of them into some kind of meeting so they can establish the regular schedule of meetings
Great.
and start moving forward with the Sustainable CT initiative. So, Item 9, request for use of town property. 9.1, act on request from St. John's Episcopal Church to place a sign on the green advertising its Bluegrass Festival taking place August 18th, 2018. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 9.2, act on a request from the country school to place a sign on the green advertising its summer tours taking place in August. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Yeah.
And a second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Item 10, correspondence. Anybody have anything?
I had 2 items.
Okay.
Received 2 pieces of email. I think I went to everybody. There was a question regarding the status of the sidewalk commission, which I do understand has been either staffed or at least partially staffed and is moving forward, right?
It has,
I'll ask that in the form of a question to
question?
our chair.
It has not been formally staffed yet. We
Okay.
have about a dozen volunteers, or a little bit more than a dozen volunteers at this point. A good number of them would not have been available over the summer.
Okay.
So the plan is to, over the next couple of weeks, nail down, reaffirm the commitment of those individuals and announce that committee no later than the first board meeting in September.
So to our point before, if anyone has some interest, there's a possibility of
Still.
another open seat.
Exactly.
And they
Well, we
can-
haven't even yet determined how
Composition.
big that is gonna be.
So the solution for folks would be to contact your office.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just so folks know.
Yeah.
And the second item I had was some back and forth with the planning and zoning, and there was a very frankly elaborate response from the board, and with regard to the second meeting, the obligation of the second meeting, and the
Yes.
super majority vote to cancel. The default position will be 2 meetings unless there's a super majority to suspend the second meeting and
Agreed.
routine matters. That's
Agreed.
where it's falling down, and the details, P and Z's on top of
That
it.
was approved as of last Wednesday night, and it's gonna require a 3/4 vote of those in attendance, which really is a supermajority, because it can't be any more than 6 to 1.
Yeah.
So,
So the default position will be 2 meetings.
will be
in
2
case people
meetings,
are-
however, based on the fact that there are a significant number of those special permits that don't need to go to a second hearing. This really benefits both the commission members, they might be able to get home before midnight once in a while, but more importantly, those applicants.
Saves them time and money.
Saves them time and money, because very often they are represented by an attorney and
Engineers.
or engineers or an architect. So I think this is a
Right.
good, a good compromise. There was some, I did receive some feedback from some folks who were very much concerned about eliminating that. My original position was supermajority from the start. Discussions with the current chair, Phil Johnson, and George Grawl over in Planning Office, we decided to move that to 3/4. I think the outcome was a good compromise, so.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Lou. You guys also, I forwarded, you have it in here, it's not on the written agenda, but the correspondence from Daniela Balzano, who was the founder of Plastic Free Guilford. This is not the first that I've heard of this. There may be 2 or 3 groups at this point that are starting to push for the to make Guilford plastic free, particularly as it relates to plastic bags. So as these groups emerge, I think I will suggest that they perhaps sort of merge together rather than trying to deal with these. And what I suspect is more than likely going to be some forms of petitions coming to us over the course of the next several months, if not sooner. So.
I just, as a point of information, I just spent some time on Block Island, and that ordinance went through, and
did.
it seems to be fine and working well, and, you know, they're
And
not
they're-
even selling them, they're just basically using paper bags,
Paper
or
bags,
people
yeah.
are bringing their own bags.
Yeah.
And there are other Connecticut communities that have
Yeah.
that moved forward with this as well. So I think it's an issue we will be addressing sooner rather than later. Anything else from correspondence? Committee reports. Lou?
We have our building fee committee. We're going to meet this week. We have gotten information from CCM, from the department heads, and we've spoken to some local builders. We've gotten some input. We're going to get together, and we're still shooting for a September report date.
Excellent. I think that's it on committee reports. Old business. New business? Public forum. Public forum will be limited to 3 minutes regarding any issue this board would normally address. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board in public forum? Thank you. Routine is name and address for the record, please.
My name is Kim Mamachuda from Branford. I lived in Guilford for years. My children have gone to this school. A simple thought on this Simon issue is I've taught my children to respect other people's property. If the little boy or boy has gone into on my property to retrieve a ball, knowing that there is a dog on the property, I always taught my children and myself a simple knock on the door. My ball is in your yard, can you please get it? I just think it's horrible that this has happened, and it could have been avoided by a simple, it could have been avoided. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Margit Kay. I'm a resident of 140 Trolley Road. I lived in this town for over 50 years. And it is unprecedented what happened here, that you keep Simon hostage. But we realize that you inherited that problem or mistake from the previous administration. And we ask you respectfully to change it, to let Simon go. 1 year is enough for punishment. And thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Just for the record, hearing has been scheduled for August 16th, so it's 10 days out from now, on this very issue. So we received word from the State Department of Agriculture last week that it had been scheduled, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the board?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ann Ruggiero, and I live in New Haven. I'm here on behalf of Simon. I think holding Simon as a hostage is a total miscarriage of justice. As a parent, I understand the concern and the anger. As a dog owner, I understand the fear Simon felt being approached by someone with a weapon, and it was a weapon. This situation has brought much divide in this community. The dog should be released back to his family with strict instructions on keeping him safe, as well as the other family learning conduct and becoming aware of their own safety. If this dog was vicious, he would have been put down already. It's time to stop wasting time and money in keeping him a hostage. No one wins here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Gabrielle Palumbo from Guilford. You're not gonna stand next to me? Okay. And this is my mom. So I'm standing here with my mom on behalf of the Simon case. Last night, as I was trying to write a speech for today, I realized that the more and more available online research details that I found about this case, the easier it became for me to write. The main facts: a boy trespassed, got bit, Simon is taken away from his family, the city holds a meeting, and Simon could potentially be put down. What you can't see is the words that I bolded on the paper: trespassed and meeting. To clarify, trespassing is illegal, and a secret meeting is a violation of the open meetings law. So this case has been blown up and became unnecessarily complicated. Simon has served his time and belongs home with his family. He was only trying to protect his home where his family, who saved him, who loves him, and who he loves back, lives in. It also came to my attention that Simon is a rescue. Having a rescue myself, we rescue owners are not informed of the rescue's history. Therefore, we do not know if certain actions or objects, in this case in particular, a stick-like object, is triggering for the animal. Off of experience, I know that rescues need to feel trust when it comes to those triggers. Certainly, a stranger would not have the trust needed for the rescue, therefore, the rescue will feel threatened. It's unfortunate the boy got injured, but he did, however, trespass. I will now take the time to thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Gabby. Anyone else wishing to address the board?
Morning.
Good morning.
Cindy Vaporis, 7 Alpine Drive, East Haven, Connecticut. Member of Desmond's Army, law advocate for animals. Well, I was glad to hear just now that there is a meeting, so this can finally come to an end and this dog can finally go home. I have with me my grandson Wyatt, who's 5 years old, Wyatt Mergle. Wyatt,
Yeah.
what did you tell me this morning
Hello,
about...
Wyatt. How are you today?
Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
Okay, listen to Grandma, please. What did you tell me happened to Mason the other day?
Mason just shot at the dart and then
And it went where?
in neighbor's yard
Right.
and then Mason's brother
Yep.
just ran to a neighbor's house,
Uh-huh.
not asking for permission.
Correct. Now, is that a right or wrong?
Wrong.
Correct. 5 years old. I don't think I really have to say more.
Thank you.
I thank you guys. I hope that we can get this resolved and you poor folks can go back to having, do what you need to do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are you, one question I do have, are any of you folks going to be at that meeting?
I'd like to know when, specifically when and
Good.
where.
Okay. Thank you. We will let you know.
Thank you.
Say thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address?
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, hi. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Allie Girardi. I'm a financial advisor by trade, a volunteer, and one of the co-directors of Outreach to Pets in Need out of Stamford, Connecticut.
And where do you live?
I live in Stamford, Connecticut, 7 Short Trail.
Thank you.
And I'm here today because I love people, I love pets, and I love justice. Simon, I'm here to save Simon. When I was a kid, we had a Great Dane in the neighborhood whose name was Prince. Big, huge Great Dane. And my sister and I were playing Frisbee, and our Frisbee went into the yard. We were afraid to ring the doorbell because we were kids and you're afraid to talk to an adult. My mom said, go back there. If they're not home, leave a note. And that's what we did. They weren't home. We left a note. The next day, the Prince's owner came to our house with her mangled up Frisbee and a brand new hot pink Frisbee. Because back then people communicated, we took care of things ourselves, we had less technology, less stress, and more of a community. This sends such a poor message, not just to Guilford, not just to loving pet owners, but also to the state and the United States. This was all based upon a bad decision. We all make them. This teenager made a bad decision when he entered a fenced-in yard. If we went on an excursion right now and drove through the town or the state together and entered yards with dogs and carried sticks, I guarantee we're going to get bit. We're going to be tracking bites. And it was a bad decision that just went out of control. Dogs have such a short window of life. Simon has already been with you for 1/10 of his life in animal control. I understand he's being really well taken care of, but he's alone 16 hours a day. He's got a family, children that grew up with him, a gentleman who's trying to go to work each day with the heartache of knowing that the precious dog is taken away. It's unfortunate that someone was bit, but the message we need to send as a community is don't enter somebody's yard if your ball goes in there. We need to teach kids. You have to respect dogs in yards. Murdering Simon, that's not teaching anybody. It's teaching negative badness. So I beg you, please send him home, and send him home before the meeting. And there's got to be a way to give some sort of, I don't know, bond. Send him home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the board?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Valerie DeVito. I live at 27 Lindstrom Road in Stamford, Connecticut. I too am a volunteer with Outreach to Pets in Need, animal lover as well, and activist. The concerning factor to me is that the child trespassed on somebody's property. I don't want to repeat things that other people say, but that's the bottom line. So if you walk onto somebody's property, anything can happen. So I'm not clear if there were ever charges brought against the kid for trespassing, but if you're any of you are dog owners as well, but I have 2 rescue dogs myself, and they are, bully breed dogs. And it's a little concerning that there's no protection for the homeowner. So if somebody walks onto my property and somebody is bit, that I'm liable, or the dog's life is in jeopardy. Just doesn't add up. This dog has been detained for a year away from his family, which is not a good thing for the dog to be in that environment. He's away from his family, even though the family gets to visit him. The dog will deteriorate. All I'm asking for is the right thing to be done. This dog should not be where it is, and it should never have escalated. I don't even know how it escalated to this point, because it's almost to the point of ridiculousness. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Somebody went into somebody's yard with a weapon. The dog was threatened, protecting his property. So I just ask that you reassess this whole situation and do the right thing and send Simon home. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Going once, going twice? Public forum is closed. Item 15, discuss pending claims from DEEP and the Army Corps of Engineers, and discuss possible settlement of one pending claim from the Army Corps. Executive session will be required. So I'd like to ask everyone to clear the room at this point. I'm going to invite Sean Scanlon to stay. Pam Millman will be coming in with our environmental attorney, Chris Hodgson. Janice Plesiak, I'm also, and Dennis Johnson, I'd like for you to stay as well. And I think that's it, right? So is there a motion to go into executive session? And a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I've actually never met Janice.
You've not?
No,
Yes,
neither have I.
You can.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
I can. Yeah, we'll come back. We're back. Is there a motion to come out of executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. As a result of the discussions, is there held during the executive session? Is there a motion to authorize the first selectman to settle a claim asserted by the Army Corps of Engineers with respect to work performed by the town in 2012 in response to Superstorm Sandy, and work conducted in an area under jurisdiction of the Army Corps of Engineers?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. We've already concluded public forum, so thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.